What is Overwatch and why do so many people like it? This question has come up a lot basically since it was announced. Is it a MOBA? Is it like Battleborn? Is it basically Team Fortress 3? There seems to be a lot of confusion about it, so let's clear it up. Overwatch is a class-based objective hero shooter from Blizzard Entertainment, released on the 24th of May 2016. So what exactly is it? Why is it so darn popular? Why is it everywhere? It all comes down to a few simple points. It's a competitive, first-person shooter developed by Blizzard, a company well known for quality titles that are very well supported well after release. You have World of Warcraft, the most popular MMO of all time, and one of the most well-known games in the world, receiving expansions and support for well over a decade now. Hearthstone, a card game that caught on fire since its inception, and it's always seen as one of the most viewed games on Twitch and has huge competitions. StarCraft, one of the biggest esports games of all time, with an enormous global following. Heroes of the Storm, a MOBA featuring Blizzard characters that has quite the following as well. Diablo, the pioneer of RPG titles that spawned its own subgenre of games, and has its latest iteration, Diablo 3, in the top 10 of the best-selling games in the history of time, and receives constant free updates many years since its launch. So Blizzard has about as much credibility and brand loyalty as any company in existence, releasing very few titles, but making sure that they are quality and supported as much as a video game can be supported. Anything coming out of Blizzard is understandably going to have a lot of hype going in, and with Overwatch being their first original IP in 18 years, and their first foray in the first-person shooter genre coming out of the ashes of their abandoned project Titan, there was reason to be excited for many. So here we have a first-person hero shooter, meaning instead of loadouts, like you would see in games like Call of Duty and Battlefield, where you choose your guns, equipment, and perks, you simply only choose your character, or hero. This will dictate your weapons, stats, and abilities. The character you choose falls under one of 4 classes: offense, defense, tank, and support. One of the biggest strengths with Overwatch is their characters, and the fact that they, well, have character. What has polarized so many people to Overwatch are that these playable characters that differentiate so widely from one another and have their own unique personality. Obviously, many IPs try to achieve this with their own individual characters, but Overwatch showed since the announcement of the game that it would be a focal point and one that they would not struggle to achieve. Each character has their own personality and backstory. Whether they be a pyromaniac, a South Korean professional gamer, an old soldier, a hyper-intelligent gorilla, a robotic religious figure, a Russian bodybuilder, feuding brothers, or a cowboy. These characters have been fleshed out with the lore of the Overwatch program, and many of their own spotlight animated shorts with production quality and polish of the best CG animated movie studios out there. The characters just ooze personality, so it should come as no surprise that there is a never-ending pool of fan art, fanfics, cosplay, and even pornography featuring the characters. We often see these types of things most often happening in anime, and in games you see it most often in competitive esports games such as League of Legends. Not necessarily the biggest selling games or story-based games, but games with a lot of eyes on it across the globe with an attachment to. With this kind of attachment and passion, it develops a community that deeply cares to the most appropriate and even inappropriate extents. Overwatch gave people a reason to be excited with their track record and rewarded them with a game that has personality, not to mention a long-running and hard-to-get-into beta. So what about the gameplay? That certainly has to be special to make the game work, and Overwatch has it in spades. It's an online multiplayer hero shooter, meaning you have static characters with some cooldown based abilities and a primary weapon always available for fighting. You have a couple of simple objective based game modes to play over a variety of widely different maps to play within the world of Overwatch. Unlike many games that try to strike a team balance for a competitive and cooperative gaming experience, Overwatch succeeds in making team composition highly important. If the opposing team has a tank to defend their teammates, and your team does not, the gameplay will make this juxtaposition quite striking via your team's performance most likely. If your team has a healer and the opposing team doesn't, you might be living longer and making better progress on the objective. Without your own sniper to counteract an opposing sniper, things can be quite difficult for your team to advance. While of course this varies depending on players' skill level, map, and game mode, the team composition will often show when it's not balanced properly within the gameplay experience itself, which other games struggle with much more. Each character class has its own role to fill, so you get different experiences based off of the character you choose, whether it be based off your own personal style of play or what your team needs in that situation. The gameplay can be incredibly fast or slower depending how you want to play, what character you chose, and how the game is going competitively. Characters can play drastically differently from one another and impact the outcome in many different ways. So is it like Battleborn? Well, no. Battleborn is a first-person shooter MOBA hybrid with both story mode and multiplayer modes. Both first-person shooters with unique hero classes and no loadouts, but the similarities don't go much past that and the fact that they were released somewhat near each other. Battleborn doesn't have relegated classes per se, and like in MOBAs, have minions and in-match level progression unlocking new abilities based on your performance throughout the match. Kills do not come all that often, and you advance and retreat to give your team a cohesive chance at proceeding to accomplish the objective. It has traditionally multiplayer online battle arena game modes and characteristics, only from the first-person perspective rather than a third-person overhead or over-the-shoulder view. Overwatch is not a MOBA, nor does it possess similarities to how MOBAs play. Is it basically just like Team Fortress 2? You do have a better argument to make with this comparison, but it's not that simple. TF2 is of course quite an old, outdated game at this point, and isn't exactly its own genre. They are both hero shooter based objective games for the most part. They both have come from well-respected studios that incite hype and have animated shorts featuring their characters. It's the closest comparison we have, one can argue. There are many years separating the games, quality and graphics are obviously different, Overwatch has many more characters and different team compositions, Overwatch characters are much more complex in their abilities, weapons, super abilities, and movement. The two games have similarities, that's not questionable, but setting them together doesn't do either justice in each individual game, or how far game development has progressed. Overwatch gives constant purpose for your character's role. Kills come often enough for satisfaction and performance feedback, while at the same time not too often to dull the reward or cause unfair circumstances such as spawn trapping. The moment-to-moment gameplay has a flow depending on your team's performance in the objective. You have dominating wins, huge comebacks, crazy standoffs, ludicrous multi-kills, and kill streaks. It has the trappings of a fair and balanced class system where not one class or specific character stands above the rest. You have customization with as much as 55 unlocks for every single character. Only cosmetic changes, which has allowed some games to live off of through microtransactions and be free to play as a result. Overwatch is not free to play, and we are not entitled for it to be. It's about how much worth you get out of a game, not the amount of content itself. You can unlock random packs of unlocks through game progression, unlock specific things through in-game earned currency, or buy your unlocks, should you wish to, with real money. Much like Uncharted 4's multiplayer, it gives you a chance to unlock everything randomly organically, or buy specific things with money, and only cosmetically changing things as to not become a pay-to-win model like many games with microtransactions have, especially those that are free to play. So yeah, the game is fun, it looks good, the characters are vastly different and awesome. We know that Blizzard supports their games, and there's no reason to think that Overwatch would be an exception to this rule. It is a competitive shooter that gives both casual and esports fans something to play and watch. Sure, it's not for everybody, but nothing ever is. But hopefully now you know what Overwatch is, what the hype is about, what it's like, and what it's not like. Cause it's gonna be a thing. For a good long time. Whether you like it or not.